and welcome back to Stay Plugged In. My name is Sheridan, and today I am here with Jeff Underwood, a dad turned volunteer esports coach from Founders Classical Academy of Rogers.
I'm Jeff Underwood. I am the esports coach for Founders Classical Academy of Rogers. I am a software developer by trade and do this as a volunteer thing outside of work, I guess you could say. It's turned into somewhat of a full-time job, it feels like it sometimes. We have roughly 20 to 30 kids that have signed up for esports. We play Smash Brothers, Splatoon, Mario Kart. I guess that's it. We had a Rocket League team last season. They were they weren't very good. So we don't have the Rocket League team this season due to scheduling conflicts with track and things like that. So we're still trying to figure that one out. But
No FPS teams?
no, there's not. They're trying to get Overwatch too as an option. They're bringing it to the Arkansas State Athletics or whatever it is, because it's considered team-based as opposed to an FPS. Mostly, the reason we're stuck with Nintendo is because the school doesn't really provide financial things towards esports. That I'm assuming most schools are like that. It's 501c3 or whatever. So trying to secure funds for Xboxes and gaming computers and things like that, there really isn't any. So the kids bring their Nintendos to school every day, and it just makes it much easier to be able to do that with them bringing their own equipment. So
Do you all compete in tournaments?
well, so we're currently in a preseason, but yeah, there is we do compete. It's the play versus. We competed. We actually made playoffs last season in both Smash and Splatoon, and Mario Kart also. No, Splatoon didn't make it. Mario Kart and Smash did. There are scholarships, money is involved with winning state championships, trophies, all that kind of stuff. So our program's still kind of in its infancy. So we're still trying to get our feet, wet, I guess you could say. I literally had a Rocket League team last season that we took them down to Fayetteville to the University of Arkansas for a tournament that was more regional. There were some, schools from kind of all over the state, but I had one kid sitting there playing the tutorial for Rocket League literally minutes before a tournament started. So and we didn't fare very well in the tournament, but it was more of an experience of seeing, what it would be like to be on, kind of the big stage basically of esports. So it was pretty cool. But yeah, we're still trying to figure things out as we go along.
Are you into gaming? Like, how did you get into this?
Oh, wow. Okay, so I have been a gamer for many, many years. 1985 to be exact, back when the Nintendo came out. I am a software developer, so that is something that's kind of like in my blood, the whole, video games, things that I'm an avid gamer now. I stream on Twitch on my own. So I have all these things that I've been doing for many years. My son, actually all my kids play video games, so they're very much into it. My son is somewhat of a Smash prodigy, so he's a very good Smash player. And that's where I'm like, okay, you can get scholarships for this stuff, right? So that's where I'm like, oh, we need to continue this, because they don't touch grass, right? They don't go outside, they don't do anything out there. So I'm like, you need to, we need to continue with this, and whatever it is that we need to do to make that happen, then I'm obviously for it. I'm still paying my own student loan. I don't want to have to pay another one here in the 4 years, right? So if we can do some sort of, scholarship through that, then absolutely. So that's why I've donated my time to, coaching these kids and basically organizing the esports program at the school, in hopes that someday, 4 years from now, I don't have to pay tuition for my son. So that's kind of where it's at, really.
How do you like running the esports program?
There's some interesting things behind it too. So, and you may have this question later. It's not, obviously esports is inclusive, right? I have girls, I have boys, I have kids that are, what's the nice word? I have kids that they're not socially adept. I don't know if that's a nice thing to say. I'm trying to be nice. So I have kids that literally, there are kids that literally come in that don't speak with their other classmates outside of esports. There was one person that would come in and they'd sit in the corner, headphones on in the corner, and like never speak. And I'm like, and I had asked, I have someone that works for the school that, kind of assists me with school related things. And I had asked her, I said, hey, this kid over here, like, and she was like, yeah, they're never gonna participate. Let's just let them do whatever. And I was like, okay, cool. I put that kid on a team and I said, hey, you're gonna play Splatoon today. And they're like, okay. And then they went and sat down for game time and we're like, yeah, let's go, guys. And I almost fell over. I'm like, this is crazy. And so even my assistant, she was like, I've never seen anything like this before in my life. Like, that person has never acted that way, never, like, and then they're saying hello to my assistant in the hallways and things like, and which is just like, it's kind of weird, it's there's more to it than just, hey, let's go play Splatoon, or hey, let's go play Smash, right? There's a lot more there, it was kind of heartwarming to hear, basically, that there's another kid that never talks to anybody, but then when he's in there, he talks to everybody. And it's like, it's bringing these like-minded kids together and getting them to interact with one another where they normally wouldn't get to do that outside of esports.
It was kind of mentioned that you got into coaching esports by coaching your son. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, so last year, like I said, I was assisting the previous coach. I came in kind of late. He was an 8th grader, and the kids that were playing Smash, there were 2 seniors and a sophomore. And I'm like, hey, you really should let him play. He's really good. And so, because they were just, oh, we have him on the bench. If one of these kids never shows up, then he'll get to play. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, you really should let him play. He's really good. And so finally I was like, hey, do you need some help? I reached out to the headmaster of the school, was like, hey, listen, esports, blah, 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 video games for my life, So I'm like, I'd be more than happy to help out if there's a need. And he's like, yeah, absolutely. So I came in and I was doing a lot of technical stuff, setting up, we were trying to stream at the time or record. And so I was setting up things like that. Kids were having issues connected to the internet. That's one of the biggest things that we've had, was internet connectivity at schools. And I see it in the coaches' Discord all the time, that you go to school and the school does not allow you to get on any website that deals with Nintendo and sports. And it's, so everything's obviously blocked down on firewalls and everything else, right? So that was one of the biggest things, was that they couldn't get these kids connected to play against each other, against these other schools, because of the internet. So we were using hotspots on our phones. We were yeah, I know, it's crazy. So like, we're using anything we can to get these kids connected. We figured out that, like, on Splatoon days, you got 4 kids playing. 2 of them had to be on the school Wi-Fi. 2 of them had to be on their own singular hotspots in order for them to connect. If not, if you had 3 people on the Wi-Fi, then it didn't work. And so it became very difficult. And so I had stepped in to kind of help those things out. But in the meantime, I was like, hey, you really should let my kid play. At least put him up against your best player. And so they stuck him up against the best player, and he won 2 out of the or one. I think he won 1 out of the 3 games that they played. But like, we got out of there and he's like, yeah, I hadn't set up my control style. So like, he was playing with controls that he wasn't used to anyways, but he did really, really well. And they were like, yeah, he's actually really good. So they knocked one kid off the end of the bench and stuck him in. So I kind of rolled with it. I'm like, okay, cool. That's great. And I got more and more involved over the course of the 6 weeks or whatever it was during that season. And then, like I said, whenever it came time for open house at the school this year, back in August or whatever it was, I had talked to, the athletic director and asked about the esports program, because I'd found out that girl had left, and I was like, oh, okay, so this means that it's been canceled, or something. And I said, what do I need to do to take over? I said, just give me full reign, and I'll make it happen. And so that's kind of what they did. And it kind of feels a lot of times where we're almost a separate entity outside of the sports program. We are raising our own funds. We're running the concession stands. We're doing all these things to make money as an organ, an esports program, in order to help benefit ourselves. We have an e-store that we sell t-shirts on. We have like all these things that we're doing that's kind of outside the scope of what the school's regular stuff is, if that makes sense. So like the school's PTO, they're selling t-shirts for basketball and all those things, where we're like, okay, we're going to sell our own t-shirts, right? So we're doing a lot of things outside to try to raise money. We've actually purchased 4 gaming monitors recently. So we've set those up with docking stations for the Nintendo. So I have spent countless hours with their IT department that's actually based out of Texas. So the IT guy would come up, and I'm like, oh, is he coming? Okay, I'll be there at 7:00 in the morning. And I drop everything from my actual job and I go to the school, and I spend all day there with him, trying to figure out, how do we get this internet to work? Because we struggle with internet all year. They built a brand new school, but everything's locked behind that firewall, and we couldn't figure out a way around it. So they literally just last week, I think it was, I was back in there, and we got our own dedicated internet line that's outside of the firewall. So nothing's being blocked. It's completely open. And we finally got like everything back to normal. So we're like ramping up here now. If we ever get to go back to school, right now we're on snow break. So like all this week, it's been nothing but ice. So maybe tomorrow we get to go back to school. I don't know, but I don't go in on Fridays. I have real work to do Fridays. So
What would you say is the biggest challenge that your program faces?
Really the biggest challenge has been internet. I figured out that depending upon which side of the building you're on, I can plug in a cable that's outside of the firewall, right? So we were stuck inside of the elementary music room, which is like one of the biggest rooms they have in the school. And there's an after care program or after school care program that also wants to use the same room. And it's like, okay, well, we're in here today. And it's whenever it was nice outside, they would go out to the playground. Well, now it's cold, right? So that was just technology in general has been our biggest hurdle. And like I said, I hear it all the time from the coaches in Discord that, they're trying to get things connected. And so connection issues are huge, especially at the high school level, because there's just not the support to unlock and allow you to get to those websites. I grabbed one of the kids' Chromebooks the other day and tried to get on Play Versus, and it says, nope, it's sports. You can't use sports at school. And I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of stupid. So that's really our number one biggest hurdle. Number two, definitely funds, trying to find money for just for anything really. Because I've been a Twitch streamer for so long, I have contacts in the gaming industry. I actually hit up a buddy of mine at Pluggable, which is a company based out of California. They make USB devices. I think the guy's like an ex-Microsoft guy that like helped design USB as a standard back in the 90s or something like that, right? And so I said, hey, I need network adapters so that we can hook up all of these switch docks and have them hardwired, because getting off Wi-Fi is obviously a huge thing. So, and he's like, yeah, absolutely. Where do you want me to send them? So he sent me like 10 network adapters. He sent me power supplies, not power supplies, but surge protectors. So I have like giant surge protectors with like 25-foot cables on them, so I can like wheel these tables of monitors basically anywhere in a room and still be plugged in to the wall. So But after that, it's like, okay, so we had to raise money for monitors. We got 4 monitors. I'd love to have 8. I have 2 teams for every sport at the moment, for every game that we're playing, which makes, you got 2 Mario Kart teams. That's 8 kids, right? So having 8 monitors would be fantastic, because then I'm like, but the next hurdle is, well, where do we put us? Where do we put 8 monitors, right? So they do have a room that's dedicated to esports, but it's also used for other things. It's used for the seniors eat lunch in there. There's theater. There's all these. So we can't leave this stuff out for fear that it gets broken or messed with, right? So trying to fit all this stuff in very small closets is becoming somewhat of a hassle. But that's kind of where we're at. Like I said, we've been running the concession stand since volleyball started back at the beginning of school. We were able to raise enough money to pay for our season and the monitors, and we still have some money left over. Hopefully, we're trying to raise enough money so that come next year, we have a bank already that we can go ahead and drop on to our fees for the season.
What goals do you have for the program?
I would love to win a state title. I feel like I said, we're kind of our own thing at the school, and I feel like if we were to bring home a state title, it would open the eyes up of the other people, like the higher administration, basically, right, at the school, to be like, oh wow, there's actually something here. That would be obviously a great accomplishment. But my number one goal is to see that first kid get a scholarship. Okay, and I've got one junior. He said he's on Stay Plugged In already. He said he's already been hit up. I don't know if he's actually signed in, like signed up to see the messages or not. But he said that he got a message, and I'm like, okay, cool. And I tried to talk to him about it the other day. It was like during car line pickup, and I'm like, can you tell me more? And he's like, no. And I'm like, okay. So like, because I can't, as a coach, I can't see that quite yet. My understanding was that was something that was in the works, but having one of those kids get a scholarship, and then the school seeing, oh wow, there's actually scholarships for this, would be huge, because I think they would open their eyes more to it and see that, hey, this isn't a bad thing. Because right now it's like, ooh, video games are evil, So we're trying to jump that hurdle all the time. So that is like that's like my two goals at the moment. My son actually got a message last week from a college up in Michigan. He's a freshman, and I was like, this is soon. So I wasn't expecting this quite, at least for another 2 years, right? Even when I talked to Kyle the other day, I said, hey, should I really sign up for this right now as a freshman? And he was like, usually you don't have to worry about it till about junior year. And then I got a message. I'm like, damn, I can't see this. So I think we had to go ahead and sign up, because I'm not obviously going to miss out on a message. So we signed up, and he's already got his first message from a college. And I'm like, that's cool. And I'm like, let's get some more, So that's getting that, like I said, getting that interaction between the school, not just the player, but the school and the colleges, I think would be huge. I've already reached out to my assistant there at the school and said, hey, who do I talk to about scholarships at the school? Because I think I probably need to hook up with her and be like, hey, we've got kids that are getting hit up for scholarships. You might want to be involved, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So I think that once that happens, and I feel like it will, I've got some really great kids that they're not the greatest at video games. They'll never be as good as me, right? But but they are great teammates. They're very respectable children, which is kind of refreshing at sometimes, you know what I mean? And I feel like, especially my junior, he's definitely going to be going places in life. And that if he were to secure a scholarship, which it sounds like he's interested in it, then I think the school would really be like, oh wow, this is something we should probably start backing and get behind and put a little support into. So that's kind of where we're at.
What would you say are the program's biggest successes?
So like I spoke earlier about the kids that don't talk to other kids, right? That's obviously a huge accomplishment for the program itself. Just that opening up of a child, to another kid, that they have something to connect on, right? They could sit and talk about video games together. My kid, my son, he only plays video games and talks to his cousin. That's it. We had a cousin that lived with us for a while, so that I'm starting to see him now like interact more with other kids that he normally didn't do before, which is kind of cool. So, he's hopping on Discord, they're joking around, they're playing games together, and it's kind of like, hey, listen, there's other kids outside of your cousin who lives 8 hours away, so so there's that whole aspect of it. Basically just the social interaction between, that's a huge reward. Like we've been busting to get money, so like that was really our biggest, like, and being able to not only pay for the monitors that we purchased, but also to pay for the season, because the season, it's not cheap. They did give us a discount at the beginning of the year, which was amazing, because we had not planned on competing last season at all. We were like, we're just going to raise money for the next 4 months. You guys can come to practice, which practice usually consists of them not listening to me and doing whatever the hell they want, which is typical high school students. But like, we do have a little bit of, organization sometimes. But we were like, hey, they've got a deal. They're going to, give us a deal on the season. And I said, yes, sign me up. I hadn't even talked to administration yet. I'm like, we're doing this. Even if I have to pay for it out of pocket, we're going to go ahead and do it. So a week later, we're competing. So we went from, hey, we're going to practice and do all this stuff, to, hey, no, we're going to compete right now. And like I said, I had the Mario Kart team that they ended up ranked like 13th or something like that in the state. And the Smash team barely made it in to playoffs, but they made it. So yeah, it was kind of like, we've been kind of like on the seat of our chair, since the get-go. And so having the winter break, and now we're actually able to kind of take a breath and, it kind of relax a little bit. I think that this next season is going to be great. But yeah, that's kind of, yeah, that's where I'm at, I guess.
How old are the students in your program?
I actually have 12-year-olds all the way up to 17-year-olds, I guess. So because it's an after-school program, right? We're doing this from, when they get out of class at 3:30 till 5 o'clock. There's a lot of kids that have younger siblings. And so they're bringing them with them, as opposed to having mom come back to the school twice to pick up 2 kids, right? So I have kids my daughter's in there too, because I'm not going to have mom come and pick her up and then me, you know what I mean? It's kind of pointless. So she hangs out in there every day. So outside of competition, I have kids that are ranged anywhere between 7 and 17, to be honest with you, because I've got kids that are like siblings of other kids. Obviously, competition is 13 years and older. I have kids that are technically in esports that are 12, that are wanting to play and compete, and I'm like, you can't. You gotta be old enough. Some of them are turning 13 like the middle of March. I'm like, can I compete then? And I'm like, we're halfway through the season, but like, let's see how it pans out, because I know track's going to ramp up, and that means I'm going to start losing kids anyways. And so I'm like, you may be able to fill a spot at that point, but let's just like hold off until that time comes. And so yeah, but they're obviously going to be there next year. My daughter's interested in it already. She's a 4th grader, so right now she plays Roblox. So like yeah, quite a bit of Roblox. But yeah, so I could see her playing Mario Kart 100%. Like she can play Mario Kart. So 4 years from now, when my son graduates, I'm like, yeah, I won't have to coach anymore. However, she'll be an 8th grader, and I'm going, crap. So I'm kind of stuck as coach at the moment until for the next like 8 years, I think. So hopefully, we get some obviously scholarships and some wins, like some championships, or at least get like somewhere further than first round on playoffs. Then, maybe we'll get, we'll have more eyes on us at that point. So,
What would you say is the most rewarding part of running this esports club?
like I said, there's that whole social interaction. which a lot of these kids I feel like don't normally get outside of esports. Um, that is like a huge thing to me. I have guys I play games with almost nightly that I talk to all the time. I live in Discord, so I'm always talking to my friends who are nowhere near me. They're most of them are up in Michigan, and so just being able to have that, hey, there's someone else out here you can go talk to, friends, as opposed to being stuck with your brother all the time. You know what I mean? So that is kind of it's just that connection between friendships, essentially. Will these kids go off and be esports stars after college? Probably not. I mean, like I said, I've played against them, and I'm not an esports star. So but like being able to, even though that's not a thing, obviously the scholarships is a huge thing too. Um, that's that's kind of where I guess the reward comes from.
Do you have any students who are interested in doing content at all, or just competitors?
Yes. So I do have one that I'm sure of that he's been doing YouTube recordings. And we were just actually, because we're doing remote this week, so we were in preseason. I was like, okay, guys, hop on Discord at 3:30 and we'll try to queue up for a match. And so while we were on there, he's like showing me, he's like, oh, you want to see my video files? I was like, yeah, show them. Give me your YouTube link. I'll subscribe. So I do have one. I actually sold him my capture card not too long ago. So I knew he was using it for something, but I wasn't quite sure what yet. So he kind of showed me like, the stuff that he's been working on. He's been doing a lot of gameplay stuff that he's recording, Resident Evil and all kinds of stuff. So like, yeah, I do have one that's doing one that I'm aware of. It's doing. I have another one who has a viral TikTok that I didn't know about until about a week ago. It's over 3 million views. I was like, I'm like, I have 24,000 on mine, and I'm like, holy crap, dude, that's insane. He's like, yeah, it kind of went viral, and I'm like, you think? I was like, so, and I didn't believe him and he showed me his phone the other day, and I went, holy crap, like that's insane. So yeah, so I know it wasn't video game related, but I know that they are. I know some of them are making content and starting to. And even yesterday, one of the girls, or the day before, she's like, "Oh, I have a YouTube," and I'm like, "Let's go!" So we're all sharing our YouTube links and stuff like that. So there's definitely some kids that are wanting to make content, which is cool.
How do you think that esports and STEM might work together at your school?
I feel like they don't, and I'm probably going to be in trouble for saying this. Like they have a programming class. My son's in the programming class. They don't have a computer lab. They have the Chrome cart, which is basically a big rolling steel case full of Chromebooks. He's learning how to do development on a Chromebook, which as an actual developer is blasphemy. So like, you know what I mean? So they don't have a dedicated computer lab or anything like that. I see other high schools that post we got our new gaming setups, and I see their pictures of Discord, and I'm just like, wow, like that, they've got the RGBs everywhere, like it's of course it does make you play video games better, any kind of LED lighting. So, but like there's just they're not there. So it's a classical academy. So it's a classical learning thing. I should probably know more about this, but I don't. And I'm probably going to be in trouble for this question. But from what I've seen as an outsider, like I said, if I worked for the school, I'd probably know these things, but I don't. I've kind of always been like the outside, like, okay, mom, you take care of all that stuff. But over the last several years, it's like, no, Dad, you're in charge now, and you're going to deal with kids and school. And I'm like, okay, so math is different for a fourth grader than it's ever been. Like it's just like I don't. It's definitely a different environment than what I went to school and college in. That's for sure. And I feel like that's probably, yeah. It's, do they have STEM? Yeah, they do. I mean, yeah, they have they have science. They have a huge science lab actually. They have a huge chemistry lab, which is pretty cool. Um, when it comes to technology, not so much. I guess that's that. Everything else, yes. Technology, no. So they have SEM, not so like that's probably the best way to put it.
What do you see as the future for the esports club?
So, like I said, we were in that big room, right? We just got moved to a different room, which is where we were supposed to be to begin with, right? But because we were gone, it got taken over. It would be nice as a future to be able to make that more of a permanent place and not have to roll carts around with monitors on them, and turn it into a computer lab at some point, where we have actual gaming rigs set up and can go in there and get things done, right? Hopefully next year we get our first scholarship I've got, like I said, I got a kid that's gonna become a senior. 4 years from now, I need one more scholarship. And then, God, I don't know if I can see myself doing this for 8 years, but like I definitely just being able to, right now I'm managing everything. Like I said, it's like a second job at this point. I put countless hours in over the last however many months we've been in school, dedicated to esports, outside of my real job. Well, like I said, and I'm not on a payroll, so it's all volunteer work. I'm talking sometimes 30 hours a week on top of a regular job, right? It's difficult. And so in the future, having maybe more help, somebody else that can kind of sidekick and do some of the things that I'm doing, which is not, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it is. There's a lot of managing teams outside of the school. So there's a lot of setting up the things on the website on Play versus who's on the roster this week, who's playing, who's sick, who's out with COVID. There's all those things that and because I'm not at the school and I don't know who's there and who's not, so a lot of times it's I get there at 3:30 or whatever it is. They get out of school and I have literally 5 minutes to set up the rosters and be like, where's so-and-so? Oh, he's out today. And it's like, no one told me, so there's not I'm not getting a lot of the communication from, where is everybody at? So having somebody else that's, I guess, more involved with it, that maybe is at the school all day, would be helpful. I thought about substitute teaching just so that I'm there. You know what I mean?
And where can people go to learn more about your program?
So actually, I created a website. It is fcaresports.com, which is nothing fancy. I set it up. I snagged a URL because I was like, I'm going to get it. And I snagged more than one. That's why I wasn't sure if it was the right one. And so I did that. And then we've also got, the t-shirts and stuff like that. There's nothing on the school's website that says esports. It says basketball, it says volleyball, it says baseball, it says soccer. It does not say esports that I've ever seen. So I created our own website. It's got our Twitch channel on there, our Twitter. Obviously, those will be more active as the season gets rolling again.
Where can people go to buy a t-shirt for the club?
Those are actually through fcarestore.com. Yes. Yeah, so we've got, it's all through, I'm using Teespring as our vendor or whatever. So it's all print on demand. You don't have to, the PTO that sells t-shirts, they have a thing where you order them and you wait 3 months and then they print them and then they send them home with the student from homeroom. And then they forget that, oh, I don't know, Mom, I'm supposed to have 2 shirts, but they're the wrong sizes. And so I'm like, I'm not dealing with that. Like, we're just going to do something different. So I set it up through Teespring. I've used Teespring in the past for my own stuff. So it's print on demand. We don't make as much money off of it as we would if we did taking 100 orders at a time, but everything helps, so we did it that way. I've got t-shirts and blankets and coffee mugs and all kinds of stuff on there. One of the other things we actually did, now that I'm talking about this, we designed our own logo for esports. I had found a website where you can design an esports logo, right? And so I said, hey kids, go check this out, poke around. So they were designing something. I said, okay, give it to me. I'm going to take our actual Spartan logo and slap it together with some of the things you guys created. So I slapped some stuff together and they all voted on it in Discord, came up with an idea. I sent it out there. And then one of the girls who's sounds like she might want to go into some sort of graphic artist stuff. She's like, hang on just a second. I'm going to smooth out the edges and this and that. And she did some stuff to it. And I'm like, okay, there it is. So we took that logo and it was kind of like a group effort between myself and the kids and slapped it on some t-shirts and started selling t-shirts. So